What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with Spider-Verse. And here's a funny thing. This is going to be a pretty short video relative to the other ones that we've done, because this is basically part of Spider-Man Team Up. So these stories are not super lengthy. In fact, they're like 10 pages each, right? So they're pretty short here. What's funny about this one, though, is this is probably one of the most important moments from all of Spider-Verse. And so I don't really understand why they shuffled it off to a Team Up comic and basically called it a day, right? It's a little weird that they did that. But one of the things that had come out of the scrolls that have been given to the Spider Army by the Master Weaver was the nature of Karn. Now, we've talked about Karn before, that he's one of the inheritors, that Karn himself very much cherished love and beauty, and that unlike the other inheritors, he didn't feed on spiders out of a desire to. And so when his family learned that, they basically put this helmet on his head and then banished him from the inheritor homeworld, destined to essentially spend forever consuming spiders in an effort to earn his place back home. The reality is that was never going to happen. But because of the fact that the spiders have learned this, they see him as a potential ally, because of the fact that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that Karn hates his family and his father most of all. And so the spiders can use that to their advantage as a means to basically rally and bring him on board. And so what we do is we switch over to Earth 3123, this alternate reality where it actually turns out that Peter Parker and Uncle Ben, neither one of them had become Spider-Man. Instead, it was Aunt May, which is cool. You know, there's a few stories, so those of you guys who don't know, there's a few stories where awesome stuff happens with Aunt May. Like, you guys remember the Golden Oldie story, right? Where like Aunt May becomes like Golden Oldie. She's a herald of Galactus. It's amazing. It's really cool. She's like babysitting Franklin Richards, and like Galactus shows up out of nowhere, and then she like races off and like chastises him, and then like he turns her into a herald, and then like she goes and finds worlds for him. It's really cool. Like, it's a really fun little story. But regardless, this conversation between the two is actually interesting because Aunt May does exactly what you would expect her to do, right? I mean, she's a kindly old woman. She's like a nice old woman that would like fix you cookies and stuff like that. I mean, she'll wallop you upside the head with her purse if you're like, you know, if you're mouthing off or acting up, right? I mean, Aunt May's never afraid to throw hands. But the conversation between the two is such that she's a very gentle person, and it almost kind of begins to turn Karn for like a brief second, but then he snaps back and says, no, right? Destiny cannot be denied. I have to earn my place back at my family. Just one more spider that dies, and then I'll in turn be able to earn my place again, right? I'll be able to be back with the family, kind of earn my right as I've desired it so much. Now, of course, as you would expect, you basically end up having the arrival of all these spiders who show up, right? So you've got Ashley Barton, you've got Spider-Punk, you've got Spider-Man UK, Billy Braddock, you've got Spider-Man India. You have like all these spiders who show up out of nowhere, and a fight breaks out between them and Karn. Now, here's a funny thing about this, that Karn initially goes to attack all of them, right? And we all know for the most part, Karn could probably overpower them, right? And probably even kill them. But right off the bat, they take him by surprise. And the reason why is because he says, like, I don't know how you guys, you know, how you came here. I don't know how you got this knowledge that, you know, that I was banished from my family and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't matter. He's like, but like all of you are going to die. And the response of Spider-Man UK is like, you have it wrong. Like, we're not here to fight you, man. We're here to ask you to join us, right? And initially the response of Karn is like, man, you guys must be desperate if you're showing up here asking me to join your ranks. But the funny thing here is that Spider-Man India chimes in and says, I understand obligation to family better than most, but your family betrayed those obligations long ago. They claimed to punish you for your mother's death, but the truth is they sent you away because they feared you because you questioned them. And then Ashley chimes in and says the same kinfolk who said that you could come back and live with them like one big happy family if you killed just enough spiders. And that was how many hundreds of years ago? The walls are closing in. Like, their argument is there's nothing you can do here that will make your family proud. There's nothing you can do to earn your place at their side. That's never gonna happen. That's never, ever gonna happen. Like, there's nothing you can do here. Your family will always have you as a carrot on a stick, right? Just keep going a little bit longer and you'll get it, right? They're literally just leading you on. And so either you can stand aside from that, you can stop that, or you can keep it going. And one of the funny things is they kind of tease this way of saying like, you know, they have like another way for him to continue to survive. And where the answer that Anya Karazin gives is, no, we don't. But your family, if you help us beat them, we could use their technology to find alternatives to you traveling around the multiverse and consuming spiders. Then right off the bat, Karn snaps back, right? This little glimmer of hope that he thought he had, he snaps back and says, no, that's never gonna happen. I've got to keep doing my thing, right? In a lot of ways, it's like a video game, right? Where you have to go through like those trust challenges where you have to like convince them into believing you. And if you answer any of the questions wrong, then like, they're like, no, I can't trust you. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is a really good example of that, where Karn says it's useless to defy fate, the natural order. Spider-Man UK says, who says there's only one natural order? How many worlds have you been to? I've seen multitudes. They're all beautiful and they're all different. According to the scroll, you wanted to explore their beauty, record it, celebrate it, not bring death and destruction. And then Anya chimes in and says, and as for fate, who knows more about it than the Master Weaver? And who do you think gave us this? And so when the statement's made like the Master Weaver is the reason why we have these scrolls in the first place, it kind of begins to lock things in stone. Because while Karn has been banished from his family for quite some time, the basic functions of the family and the nature of the Master Weaver, that's still known to him. And again, one of the things that we've stated is that while the Master Weaver doesn't tell them walk this way and turn left, you know, or follow this exact path and you will end up where you want to go, he doesn't lead them to their future. The Master Weaver does have knowledge of the future. And so what their response is, the Master Weaver gave us these scrolls, and in giving us these scrolls, gave us this knowledge of you so we could tell you that we have this knowledge, so we could ask you to work with us, that it's all basically fate. That Karn was destined to turn away from his family and to join the Spider Army against the Inheritors. This is a big ally for a variety of reasons. The first is because despite the fact that Karn has been gone for a lengthy amount of time, there's still some very important information he can give the Spider Army to help him defeat his family, their inner workings, how they function, all that kind of stuff. Any information that they don't have, no matter how small, is exceedingly important in this war that they're engaged in. The other part of this is that Karn says, my hunger can be intense. It can be uncontrollable. There are times when I'm going to need to feed. And the response of these guys is, okay, then if that's the case, and this is a big risk that we're taking here, we'll let you feed on us. Not enough to like kill them, right? But enough to basically sustain himself. And that's what happens, right? Karn comes to this realization. He says, all this time, it was a lie. The centuries I suffered, the pain I inflicted, none of it had to happen. My family told one truth. There is no greater wretch than me. And so the response of Spider-Punk is, no one is beyond redemption. It will be a long journey, but that is nothing new to you, is it? Let us help you take the first step. This is an important thing because it feeds into the nature of the Spider Army, the various Spider-Men themselves, right? One of the things we didn't necessarily cover in the previous video, it didn't seem overly important, is that there is a point where Spider-Man India has this bit of a kind of an emotional breakdown where he seems to come to this realization that when he looks at Peter Parker, that all their differing names and even their costumes seem to be alternate variations of Peter Parker himself, that they're all basically copies of Peter Parker. And in a lot of ways, that's true, but that's the common theme that Spider-Man more often than not share. It's one of the things that made Ashley Barton and Superior Spider-Man so unique, is that they were kind of an answer to the question, what happens when somebody becomes a Spider-esque character, but then is kind of a villain, and then maybe kind of a hero, but is usually a jerk more often than not. But they aren't straight, true villains. I mean, I guess maybe Ashley Barton is. She kind of became the new Kingpin in Old Man Logan, but outside of her, you know, Superior Spider-Man isn't necessarily a straight villain. He kind of was in the beginning, but he changed his ways as time went on. And that's kind of the nature of what it means when it comes to the Spider-Man mythos, is they're not necessarily naive. I mean, in some ways they are, right? The belief that like everybody can be saved if you just show them happiness and help them understand their hearts are 3 sizes too small. You know, like if you approach it from that perspective, sure, right? That's just good old plain being naive, you know? And so with these different Spider-Men, sure, like in this instance, if this were anybody else, they probably would have pummeled him. But the fact that Karn is someone they need on their side, that they're able to bring in this sort of gentler touch that can kind of rally him in and say, look, we need your help in defeating the family that you hate so much. And so as a result of this, they actually all end up basically grabbing Karn and sharing a bit of their power with him, which kind of allows him to feed and sustain himself to a degree. Not enough that it like kills anybody, but enough that like he's able to kind of keep himself going. And then following that, they exit through the portal and take Karn back to their base of operations. So again, an exceedingly important story in the Spider-Verse event, which was just kind of shuffled off to a side story, and I never completely understood why. But with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.